I'm your host, Attorney Jeffrey Leving. It's great to be here again for another Monday evening, bringing you everybody's rights. We're here to seek justice and provide critical educational information. Art Attorney Kallow on. But before we put Art Kallow on, I want to let everybody know, if you want any information about it, take a look at the website, which you're looking at right now, and you get access to the whole website, not just what you're looking at on your TV screen, at fatherhood-edu.org. And also, we have a lot of great information on the website, on the Fatherhood Educational Institute's website. So please take a look at the Fatherhood Educational Institute's website. It's a fantastic website. And also, we've been doing a lot of great work here helping fathers, and we're going to have a meeting coming up soon. I look forward to Art Kallow being there. He's a director for the Fatherhood Educational Institute. But Art Kallow, who's been awarded the 2017 Matrimonial Law Award, he's also been awarded the Grandparent and Children's Rights and Lawyer of the Year Award, and he also obtained sole custody for a dad whose child was snatched by a babysitter, and the babysitter wouldn't return this dad's child. He went to court and was able to get the court to order the babysitter to return the child to dad. Wild case, but he won. And he's won a lot of interesting cases. Federal prison. Mother gave birth to a child in federal prison. Sole custody for dad. Art Kallow's client. He's done a lot of great work, and there's no greater joy than reuniting a father and child. And Art's had a lot of those joys throughout the country, litigating in Atlanta, Georgia, Los Angeles, California, and obviously his favorite city, Chicago. And I'd like to ask Art a few questions, but first I want to thank Art for appearing on Chicago Counterpoint Television. Art, thank you.
Thank you for inviting me, Jeff. It's a pleasure to be here.
You're a fantastic lawyer, and I remember in Los Angeles, we were representing a father, terrible case, and his little boy was with the mom who I believed was dealing drugs right in front of the child. And I'd like to congratulate you on that case. How did you convince the judge? How did you get that child back to dad and get that child back with dad to Chicago from Los Angeles? Because you saved that child's life. How did you do it? And unfortunately, we have a lot of callers on hold. So how did you do that in 30 seconds or less?
Okay, well, it was one in the preparation. We did an awful lot of preparation. We did a lot of investigation. We found out what was going on. And when we got to Los Angeles, we already knew what our strategy was going to be. We made some adjustments along the way, and we were able to convince the court that the right thing to do was to let the child come back. And the child came back, I believe, on the flight right after my flight, and it was one of my proudest moments.
Yeah, that was a fantastic victory, and I know the grandparent was somewhat of had celebrity status. We will keep that confidential, but it was fantastic. And also, you were in the news. Your appearance on this show was in Market Watch and was in the news all over the world. And I'd like to show just one of the articles or releases concerning your appearance on the show, which is entitled "Safe Hands, Life-Saving Results, Attorneys Protecting Fathers and Children." Fantastic article. If anybody wants a copy of it, please call the Fatherhood Educational Institute at 312-795-9060, 312-795-9060, or you could just go on Market Watch and you could read the copy online. It's online. But this was global. The publicity here was global. It was not just in the U.S., but it was in other countries. So Art has a great following here because he does great work. Caller, you're on the air with Attorney Jeffrey Leving and Attorney Art Kallow. What can Art Kallow do for you this evening?
Well, thanks for taking my call, and I'm calling on behalf of a friend of mine who's working. But he's been having marital problems for some time, and his finances are starting to get questionable. He doesn't have, his wife writes all the checks, his wife pays all the bills, and lately he's noticed that his bank statements aren't reflecting all of his money, and he's concerned that maybe his wife is taking some money and putting it aside so that if they do file for divorce, she'll have an advantage. And I wanted to know, what can he do to protect himself, and what should he be doing?
Well, Art, I'll let you answer that question
Well-
because you're our legal tonight.
I think he's got to get in the lawyer's office really quickly, and the lawyer has to be associated with a very good private detective. They may be able to get to the bottom of it very quickly, but he also needs some legal help in court. He should file some papers to restrain her from dealing with these funds, to make sure that the funds remain intact.
Have you ever worked with any detectives, or
Yes,
out of all the detectives you've worked with, because I know you have, who do you think is the best one in the city of Chicago?
I believe an attorney named Wayne Halleck is great. He's when I've dealt with him, I feel like Perry Mason. He's just whenever I want to have something done, he gets it done very quickly. He seems to have access to information, and he's extremely responsive and very responsible. It's very important to get a good detective. We've heard of situations where the detectives aren't licensed, or they do some shady things. This should be done the best way possible, and it's an investment in your friend's future to associate himself with a firm that works with a very good detective.
Okay, sir, do you have any other questions? Sir, do you have any other questions? Well, I guess he doesn't. The next caller, welcome to Chicago Counterpoint Television. I'm your host, Attorney Jeffrey Leving. We're very fortunate to have Art Kallow here, brilliant attorney, as our guest and legal eagle tonight, and he's going to answer your question. You're on the air.
All right, my question is, I have an ex-girlfriend. She's the mother of my children. I haven't seen her in a couple of months. She took off, but I still have all the kids. Now she just contacted me and said she wants the kids back, and she has no choice. I have no choice about it. What do I do?
Well, I think you do have some legal options here, and it's very important to do something quickly. If the child is out of state, you want to make sure that you do it quickly enough that Illinois retains jurisdiction. Otherwise, you might end up having to litigate in a very inconvenient forum in a state far away, and it would be very expensive, and you'd have a more difficult time. So something should be filed where you live, in Illinois, I presume, as soon as you can. We could file a petition to determine parentage if it hasn't already been determined, or we can file a petition for an immediate return of the child from wherever your ex has moved. This can be done. We do things like this every day, but it has to be done correctly, and it has to be done quickly. Time is really of the essence in this regard. And you owe it to yourself to begin immediately so that your child doesn't remain alienated from you and far away.
Okay, thank you for calling. If you need any more information, you can always contact the Fatherhood Educational Institute, 312-795-9060. Next caller, you're on the air, Attorney Jeff Leving and Art Kallow. What can Art Kallow do for you this evening?
I think I saw in the paper that there is a seminar series that Mr. Kallow sponsors or is named for him. So I was wondering what that was about and how do I sign up to attend?
Well, Art Kallow, I don't believe he sponsors it, but it is named after him. It's called the Arthur S. Kallow Continuing Legal Education Seminar Series. So this seminar series is named after my guest that's sitting next to me, Art Kallow, and it's an honor for him and an honor for me to be here with him. He's a brilliant lawyer, one of the greatest lawyers in the country as far as I'm concerned, and this is an important seminar series that educates many lawyers, and there are seminars that occur monthly that many lawyers have really grown from attending. And there's doctors that speak there, not just lawyers. There's licensed clinical psychologists. It's a fantastic seminar series. And if you want any information on it, you could always contact the Fatherhood Educational Institute, 312-795-9060. Arthur Kallow, I don't know if you want to comment on it, but it's a fantastic seminar series.
Well, I'm very grateful and very honored to have it named after me. and we try to maintain the quality of it, and we do maintain the quality of it so that it's really a special honor because it offers the same sort of education that attorneys receive in law school and thereafter, and at professional CLE meetings. Ours is one of the best.
Yeah, Arthur Kallow has lectured at the Philadelphia Fatherhood Festival. He's lectured at Northwestern Law School. And Arthur Kallow graduated from Northwestern Law School. And after graduating and becoming a great lawyer, he's lectured there as well. But the seminar series is fantastic, and it's been mentioned frequently in the Law Bulletin. It's a legal publication. Caller, you're on the air with Attorney Jeffrey Leving and Art Kallow. What can we do for you this evening?
Yes, good evening, sir. Mr. Kallow, you're really up on the law. My question is, my ex-wife told me that I have to pay for my son's college tuition at the University of Michigan, and that's like almost $55,000 a year. Is that true? Do I have to pay that? It doesn't say anything in my divorce decree about it.
There's a statute that allows the court to set an amount of contribution by each parent to college education, regardless of whether it's in your divorce decree. You really need to be in a law office very quickly. The University of Michigan, for an outside of the state student, is much more expensive than the University of Illinois for an in-state student. And the maximum that a court generally would be required to order would be the in-state tuition for the University of Illinois. So that would be a fraction of what you're talking about. So, but you have to be in a lawyer's office very, very quickly to start getting ready for this. There has to be a lot of preparation to determine why your son wants to go to a different school and what's available in-state at a state university. And Illinois has many, many state universities, not just the University of Illinois, which is, I believe, the most expensive state university in Illinois, but there are probably a dozen other state universities, and a lot of people thrive in a two-year college before they make up their mind on what they want to do. So you really should be in a lawyer's office very, very quickly to preempt this from happening, because the child may enroll there or he may apply there, and that might be the last and only place he can go before the court date comes up. So you should be talking to a lawyer very quickly.
Okay, thank you, caller. Our next caller, you're on the air, Chicago Counterpoint TV. I'm your host, Attorney Jeff Leving, and we have Art Kallow here as our legal guest, commentator, and analyst, or I should say person here to analyze your questions this evening. What can we do for you?
Hello, Attorney Kallow. My name is Carson, and I understand your firm is the gold standard for fathers. So I have a serious question. I have a 10-year-old son. I've been married for 12 years, and it's not going well. I'm scared to death that I'm going to lose my relationship with my son. How realistic is it that I'm going to be able to keep a relationship with my son if we go through a divorce? And is there anything that I can do now to help my situation or to help my case?
Okay, well, that's a very interesting question, and I can understand your concern. I empathize with you. It's a big fear that many fathers have when they're in the process of deciding whether to have a divorce or not. Sure, we can assure you that your relationship should continue, especially if we were to represent you. It's important to set things up properly at the beginning, and each case is different. Oftentimes we use psychologists very early on to try to get into the head of the other side, find out what they're doing, and to prepare you for all the litigation that'll be ahead. But our main focus would be to reunite you and keep you with your child, and maybe even get you possession of the child if that's really what you want.
Your best bet, excuse, I hope
Go ahead.
I'm waiting to
No,
cut you
please,
off or
please.
anything. Your best bet is to contact the Fatherhood Educational Institute, where you can get a lot of good educational information. And if you take a look at the Fatherhood Educational Institute's website, here's a quick shot of it. You can see me and Congressman Danny K. Davis on the left. If you go a little further down, you can see the head of Joe Delamonica and me, but unfortunately, you can only see part of it. But if you go on your computer, you can get the whole website and look at fatherhood. Look at the whole website, which is fatherhood-edu.org, fatherhood-edu.org. It's a fantastic website, a lot of good information, fantastic information. Next caller, you're on the air with Attorney Jeff Leving, and we have Art Kallow here, and we're here to help you this evening. You're on the air.
Hi, I have a question for Mr. Kallow. It's about someone that I know. He recently went through sort of a nasty divorce, and lately his ex-wife has run up all kinds of school costs for school programs and things like that, and sent him a bill for money basically he doesn't have, and saying he's got to pay the bill or else. Is there anything he can do about that?
Yes, certainly. He would have to analyze it with an attorney to determine whether there's any court order that requires him to pay, and whether these costs are reasonable, and whether there's any other criteria. For example, there might have been a requirement that both of the parties had to agree on the costs, and maybe she didn't do that. So we would need to look at that to determine whether he's actually responsible and whether it could be modified, or whether the mother should actually be held in contempt of court for doing things that are contrary to the court order. But each case is different. We'd have to look very carefully at the court orders to determine what the status of that is.
If the mother is found to be in contempt of court, if the judge holds the mother in contempt of court, the judge can incarcerate the mother. He could send her to Cook County Jail. Now, obviously, I always believe in using honey before vinegar, but a contempt finding is vinegar, and a lot of it, if the person who's acting wrongfully ends up in jail. But if you can't get somebody's cooperation, you have to utilize your legal rights. If you don't use your legal rights, you'll lose them. And also keep in mind, there's a fantastic article written about this TV show this evening, and here's a quick shot of it. Market Watch, and the article talks about Art Kallow and what we're doing right now. It's a fantastic release or article, depending on how you interpret it, and it's something you can get a copy of if you want, or we'll send you a copy, but it is online. Caller, you're on the air. This is Attorney Jeffrey Leving. Very fortunate to have Art Kallow here.
Yes, I have a question. A friend of mine, her son has been divorced for a while, and the mom is getting remarried and says she's moving to Wisconsin and that he can't do anything about it because she has sole custody. But that doesn't seem right. Is that the law?
Well, no, that's wrong. It's when you said that it's not right, you're absolutely correct. It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. In Illinois, you're not allowed to move out of the state unless she's just moving across the border, and it's only 25 miles from where she's currently living. So it's very doubtful that that's the case. He should be in court very quickly to restrain her from doing that, and she would have to prove why she should be moving. What's best for the child? Is it just because she wants to remarry somebody, or is the child going to have a better education up there, or be in a better environment? These are not easy questions to answer, but it is wrong that she can just tell him that she's moving and move.
Somebody has given you very bad advice. Be careful who you talk to, and if that advice came from a lawyer, you can tell that lawyer to contact the Fatherhood Educational Institute, and we'll be glad to tell him how to attend the Arthur S. Kallow Continuing Legal Education Seminar Series, because a lawyer giving you that type of bad advice needs education, needs to be current in what is going on in the world, in the legal world. But thank you for calling, and if you want to follow the Fatherhood Educational Institute, we have a great Twitter and a Facebook, and here it is. The Fatherhood Educational Institute is a Twitter account, @FatherhoodEDU, right on your screen, and the Facebook is fantastic. The Facebook is Fatherhood Educational Institute. So please take a look at it. The Twitter is great, and I'd like to thank Jennifer Whiteside. She's volunteered a lot of her time to the Fatherhood Educational Institute, helping with social media, because she really is an expert in social media, just as Art Kallow is an expert, a legal eagle in the law and winning unwinnable cases. Jennifer Whiteside really knows her social media. And even though we only have 5 minutes left, that's 5 minutes of power-packed education. that we want to utilize here. So if there's any callers, call in. We do have 5 minutes left. And one thing I want to tell everybody here, remember that courage is the magic that makes dreams come true. You need courage, and you can't give up hope, but you also need a competent lawyer so you don't end up a target looking for a lawyer. And again, there's no greater joy than reuniting a father and child, and Art has had a lot of those joys, but he's also represented children. Judges have appointed Art Kallow to represent children, so he's represented fathers, but he's also been appointed by judges because they trusted him for years to protect children. So I would like to bring that up. That's very, very important. Now, we have received some emails here from callers from the last show. One call, I guess I can't go through the emails because we have another caller now. Caller, you're on the air, Attorney Jeff Leving and Art Kallow. What can we do for you this evening?
Yeah, hi, I have a friend. He was just served by the Cook County Sheriff with an order of protection. He doesn't quite understand what it says, but he's really concerned. There's a court date coming up, and should he have a lawyer with him when he goes to court? Should he just go and tell the judge his side? What do you recommend? He doesn't want to have this as a permanent stain on his record.
Wow, that's an important question,
It
Art.
certainly is. It certainly is. It's a very good question. He needs a lawyer now more than ever. He really should be in an attorney's office tomorrow morning to discuss this. It's possible that an attorney can go and, I'll tell you what I would do. I would be in court very, very shortly. I'd go in quicker than the date that's on the order, and it would really disrupt the other side because they probably think they have another 2 or 3 weeks before anything's going to happen. And I would address all of this with the court very quickly because it's very unfair, but the system is set up that people can go into court without notice, and that's apparently what happened to your friend. And so it's everything you learned in civics class doesn't apply for these orders of protection, and they're often misused. They're often used to obtain things that shouldn't be given if both sides had been there and spoken to the judge. So he's got an opportunity to go back quickly. He should be careful not to violate the order of protection because the violation is a serious crime. But he should be calling an attorney very quickly to discuss this.
Thank you. And also, sir, you can follow the Fatherhood Educational Institute on Twitter at FatherhoodEDU, and that's FatherhoodEDU. So follow us at FatherhoodEDU. Also, like the Fatherhood Educational Institute on Facebook at Fatherhood Educational Institute. It's a fantastic organization, does a lot of great work. I have a lot of respect for it, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for our former honorary president, Ernie Banks, Mr. Cub. Ernie Banks volunteered for the Fatherhood Educational Institute, was the honorary president. I still consider him the honorary president, but it's just terrible he's no longer here. But I would like to honor him for his volunteerism. Great human being. And I recently met with the Chicago Cubs chief legal officer with Art Kallow, and I told him that. Ernie Banks really cared about children. So again, don't forget about him, and also the Fatherhood Educational Institute. Follow FEI on Twitter at FatherhoodEDU. Like FEI on Facebook, Fatherhood Educational Institute. And it is a great, great show. I would like to thank Art Kallow. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
You're a genius. It's an honor, and it's great to have you here volunteering and providing educational information to the public. And we're here every Monday evening at 7:30 p.m. And I couldn't obviously get every question answered I'd like to, and we did have emails from the last show. After the show, we couldn't get answered. But this Saturday, I'll be on Power 92.3 FM, 9 a.m., Power 92.3 FM, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., and I'll try and get all your questions answered if you call then. But if you don't, we'll be here same place, same time next week, Monday, 7:30 p.m. And remember, all dads matter, all parents matter, all children matter, and God bless.